Ohio caucuses just 30 days away now. Even before this first test of 2020, the number of Democrats running for president, it's starting to thin out. This week, Julian Castro became the latest to exit the race, leaving the once historically diverse field with one less minority candidate. And now Marianne Williamson's campaign is fighting to survive. They've laid off all staff nationwide. She is committed, though. She says she's staying in this race. And a lot of people are wondering, well, how do you move forward? Well, Marianne Williamson is with us now. Ms. Williamson, thank you so much for being with us.
Listen up. She has words of wisdom.
You really have
for having me.
You have fought so hard, and I know this had to be a really tough move for you to have to lay off these people. At what point did you realize that it had to happen?
Well, I think that campaigns regroup. It happens. I think that what matters here is not the business of politics. What matters is our democracy. What matters is the message. What matters is the relationship between the candidate and the voters. And I think that that relationship gets lost sometimes these days. Most of the time it gets lost in the big horse race conversation and the staff and the money and the polls and the business of it all. And that's a corruption of our democracy. So I'm here because of the conversation I'm having with the American people and the option that I'm presenting to the American people, not only for how we can defeat Donald Trump this year, but also how we can move this country in a very different direction. And that's what matters to me. Mm-hmm. What matters to me is that we need a season of moral repair. We need a coalition of heart and conscience in order to align our public policies with the angels of our better nature. We have millions of American underserved, at-risk, traumatized children we need to rescue. We need to have an agenda for waging peace, not just endlessly preparing for war. We need to create a healthier society, not just treat sickness, but actually incentivize health. We have to have a deeper conversation and a deeper reparative measures about racial reconciliation in this country. We need to have a World War II level mass mobilization in order to reverse climate change. We need to move from a dirty economy to a clean economy, from a war economy to a peace economy. These are the things that matter. Economic justice, removing the scourge of wealth inequality, where only 1% of Americans own more wealth than the bottom 90%. The erosion of our democracy. We're not even behaving like a vital democracy anymore. We are a vital corporate aristocracy. We repudiated that in 1776, and we need to repudiate it again. This is what matters in a campaign.
There are a lot of people that your message really resonates with them. And there was something you said last time you were on the air about how we're not governing with a conscience. And I think that struck a lot of people as well. How do you continue, do you think, to keep your message out there if, at some point you have to bow out of this part of the candidacy?
If that happens, I'll know. And on any given morning, I think we all wake up and ask ourselves, how do I best use the resources that I have in my life, my skill set, in order to contribute to the world in which we live. And if on any given morning I wake up and I think, that's not the way to do it today, then I won't do it. But in the meantime, I think what you said is so important. I do believe the average American follows the dictates of conscience to the best of our ability. That's not where the problem lies. The problem is that our public policy is not driven by the dictates of conscience so much as it is driven by the dictates of short-term financial gain for the stockholders within huge multinational corporate interests. That's a divergence of critical import, not only in terms of who we are as people, but what we are as a democracy and whether or not we are thriving as a society that is committed to the democratic and humanitarian values on which we were founded.
So you said something really interesting this week regarding that, about the human society as we know it. The statement that you gave after the news came out about the situation with Iran over the last 24 hours. In that statement, you included this line: "Not enough Americans hate war today. A rampant casualness about it is one of America's biggest problems. It's not a policy, but rather an attitude that now threatens. War has become, for too many, just a big ho-hum." Certainly there are military families, I'm sure, that would not fall into that category by any means. They understand what's at stake. But are you saying there that people don't care, that they're ignorant, that they're reflecting maybe the images of movies as opposed to the images of reality? I mean, what point are you trying to make there?
What we have here are generations generations of Americans now who have never known a state, have never known a time when America was not at war. You know, I come from a generation where there was a distinction between America at war versus America not at war. We have entire generations who have never known America not at war. And so too easily, people become desensitized these days to the horrors of war. Now, when you mention military families, they're sure not desensitized to the horrors of war, but too many Americans are. They have known, and as you said yourself, the glamorization of war, the almost sexualization of brute force that has become too common in our media and in our society. And so the search for peace is not enough of a conversation in the United States. You know, we don't just treat sickness. We also cultivate health.
Right.
And we can't just endlessly prepare for war. We need to cultivate peace.
Right.
And that's the conversation. This is why I want a Department of Peace. We should have a peace-building academy as well as a military academy. We should have peace games as well as military games, as well as war games.
Right.
You know, President John F. Kennedy said that if mankind does not end war, war will end mankind. And as
What did she say? If mankind does not end war, war will end mankind. That is a very, very frightening fact. That is not just some sort of random ideology, but it speaks volumes in the degree towards it being the gospel. The gospel. That if humanity can't figure out a way to stop wars, then wars will stop humanity.
President John F. Kennedy said that if mankind does not end war, war will end mankind. And as president, I would want to declare that the United States will lead the effort whereby we can see that at the end of this century, we won't be alive to see it, but you don't live a meaningful life just for yourself or just for your generation. We should lead the way to a time at the end of this century where if humanity has not ended war, at least they can see the end of war down the road.
So let
and
me
our
ask you.
greatest president, yes.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to get this in before, as we're running out of time, but there are many, many analysts who have been on our air who have said that it was necessary to take out this general in Iran, so to speak, that he was a man who had killed and was responsible for thousands of American lives. And your peace and your nonviolence portraits are pivotal to the campaign I know that you've been putting out there. But if you were president, if you had the option of a drone strike like this against somebody like him,
Well,
could you press that button? Let's ask you that. Could you press that button? How would you handle that decision?
I could press that button if I thought it was a good idea. I don't believe that taking out this particular man was a good idea. It's not that he was a good man or a nice man, but there were, the Bush administration and the Obama administration were very aware of Soleimani. And both of those administrations made a calculated decision that he was more dangerous dead than alive. He was already a hero, and now he'll be a martyr as well as a hero. By taking out this particular man,
he won't be a martyr to us. He may be a martyr to the evil demonic society over there that believes in his cause, but he won't be a martyr to us, ma'am.
We did not, they talk about how there were imminent attacks. This did not end the imminent attacks. This did not make American military.
That's like saying David Koresh and Nichols is a martyr that created a 3,000-pound ammonia nitrate bomb that put it in a Ryder truck that caused the death of over 170 people in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. They're not martyrs to us. Timothy McVeigh that wound up being executed by the state of Oklahoma. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And these people that she's calling it supposedly martyrs are not martyrs in our eyes. They're not in my eyes. They may be in other people's eyes, but they're not in mine.
Or civilian
Let's back it up.
About how there were imminent attacks. This did not end the imminent attacks. This did not make American military or civilian personnel in that part of the world safer. It made them more endangered. This creates more risk because now you have the Iranian government declaring that they will take vengeance for this. And I think that it is reasonable to assume that in every way possible, that is what they will try to do. I do not believe that killing Soleimani made this a safer country or a safer world. Could I make such a move if I thought that action did? Absolutely, I could and would. That's an oath you take as commander-in-chief. But I just believe that this move was reckless, irresponsible, and dangerous.
Marianne.
Well, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but the fact of the matter is they've got proof that the guy had already pre-selected another American group that he was fixing to take out. He has been a thorn in the American people's civil defense system for years. I'm really surprised they hadn't gotten lucky towards taking him out already. Her ideology of strategy, some of it I go along with, but there's other of it that I don't go along with pertaining to what she's saying.
Williamson, thank you for taking time to be with us today. Good luck in Iowa.
Thank you. Thanks.
She's a smart lady in her abbreviation towards how that she expresses herself, but at the same time, she has her frame of thought, she has her ideals, she has her concept of how she believes things and sees things, and other people has theirs. I agree that if if humanity don't stop war eventually will stop humanity. I agree with that statement. I've always agreed with that statement that Kennedy made before his assassination. But some of the other remarks that she has made, I don't agree with, because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and though he may be looked upon as being some sort of martyr to that evil, demonic, wicked group over there, he's not going to be looked upon in my eyes as being a martyr. I believe that the man deserved to die and should have died years ago, because of his rootless, evil, violent, hostile, barbaric ways. And there's lots of them over there that deserve the same thing, that has brought nothing but anguish, pain, misery, sorrow, and bloodshed to the American people and to the American people's allies. There's many of them over there that deserve the same thing, because that's all they study is war, 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 war. Ever since that I've been a child, growing up, that if it's not one commotion going on over there, it's another commotion going on over there. It's like that's all they study, is wanting to kill each other. And if they're not throwing rocks at each other, they're throwing sticks at each other. If they're not throwing sticks at each other, they're throwing bullets at each other. If they're not throwing bullets at each other, they're throwing missiles at each other. It's like, when is that insanity? When is that sick environment ever going to stop? I'm going to tell you when it's going to stop, according to them. According to them, that's already done declared war on the Americans and upon Jerusalem back in 93. According to them, they're going to dominate and dictate society one way or the other, even if they have to push society off to the envelope of society destroying itself. That's whenever it's going to end, according to them. Because to them, the winning concept is to conquer and to dominate, even at the expense of self-preservation in bringing into their own demise. Because if they bring in to the demise of the world as they're bringing into the demise of themselves, in their eyes, this is how sick that they are. This is how demented that those people are, and they're thinking, in their eyes, they have won. They have won because they have brought humanity to the end of existence. That's what we're dealing with over there. You know, it's not like it was during World War II. At least during World War II, people had feelings about survival in their culture, and they wanted the next generation to have a fair chance at a successful opportunity in life towards possibly being able to have something greater or better than what they had. The generation that's growing up today don't think that way. They think that because of their lifestyle that it would be better to die than it would be to live. Well, whenever you're dealing with a immoral society like that, that welcomes the death to not only their own culture, but is dead set towards trying to bring the death to the whole humanity race all over the planet, just in regard towards wanting to dominate or be in control of the whole planet, you're dealing with a wicked, perverted, demented, evil, delirious entity unlike anything that we've ever seen before. Just like people being willing to strap suicide bombs on themselves pertaining to suicide vest and take out themselves just to be able to take out 300 or 400 people. We're dealing with a group of people today unlike anything that any other culture in any other war in any other generation has ever had to deal with pertaining to their rootless ideology over there. And it's sick. It's sick because they have brought this upon to themselves. You're talking about a group of people over there that the majority of them don't work. They lay around like a bunch of hobos or a bunch of bums. You're talking about a society over there that are still getting around on camels. You're talking about a society over there that is struggling from day to day towards just having fresh water. Much less the accommodations like we have over here in America or the accommodations like they have in other parts of the world. They have brought this type of toxic environment into their own lives, and because of it, they want to blame everybody else for what that they have created in their own culture. And it's almost reached that level in places down in Mexico and South America pertaining to the drug lords, the cartels. Whenever you have a culture of people that is so infested with misery and sorrow and pain because of that in which what they have brought upon to themselves, then you're talking about a society that is willing to end it all for everybody, regardless whether it be them or the innocent or those that would never have a fighting chance towards trying to straighten this problem out. We have reached a state in the 21st century unlike anything that I've ever heard of or seen before in my entire life. Because like I said, the culture of people during World War II still had hope for a tomorrow. And the people in the Middle East, certain places, haven't had that type of vision, that type of ideal for several decades now, because of the wickedness that they have brought up into their own culture, up into their own lives. And when you're dealing with a culture that is this lethal as far as toxic, you're dealing with something unlike anything that has ever existed up onto the face of this planet. And that's where we are in 2020 in the 21st century. That's exactly where we are. God have mercy on all of us.